What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out Ukraine F-16 just shot down Russian Su-35. This is by the Military Air Show. I've been seeing this news all over the place, so I wanted to check this out. I will leave a link down below to the Military Show in the description down below. Please go check them out. We've watched their channel before. They're absolutely fantastic when it comes to military information and military news. So head down below into the description where you will see a link to the original channel. Go over there, give it some love. Really important that you do that. I feel like I got a bit of a cold coming on. And with everything that's been going on with my grandfather dying last week and stuff like that, I think I'm just going to take the rest of the week off after this video. So I'll be probably back again on Monday. So don't forget to like this video. Help with that mysterious YouTube algorithm because I'm going to be disappearing for the rest of the week. Leave a comment down below and all that other stuff. I don't usually ask people to do that type of stuff, but it helps with the algorithm. And if I'm gone for the rest of the week, my channel might need it. So if you could go ahead and do that, would be great. Also, if you haven't already picked up a chug yet, 10% off, link down below for the best drinking vessel in the world. Handmade by hands here in the UK. You should totally check it out, and you're not going to get a better deal anywhere else. You get a free customization, free bag over here, and it's a cool bag. It is a cool bag, although I've got some thread on it. It's a cool bag. And it's an absolutely fantastic mug. So if you haven't got one already, get yourself one of them. I'm going to be sitting at a fire this weekend with my brother and the kiddos, drinking out of this and relaxing. And next month, we'll be getting some morale in. Finally, it'll be happening next month. So if you haven't already checked out Morale, there'll be links all over the place at the end of the video for Morale Boost, the new podcast that I'm doing with Morale. Very, very exciting. Check that out. Every episode out. New episodes out every Friday. So if you haven't checked that out, link down below for that as well. Okay. Other than that, I think that's all I've got to do. There's a hair tickling me. There's a hair tickling me lip. Anyway, I digress. Let's watch this. Let's see what's going on with this F-16 that managed to shoot down an Su-35.
Ukraine just sent a clear message to Moscow, loud and flaming. A Russian Su-35 fighter jet has just been shot down over Kursk.
Wow.
And while the initial reports were sparse, the implication is massive. Ukraine's Western-trained pilots and F-16s may already be shifting the balance in the skies.
That's insane.
Reuters was among the first to report Ukraine's confirmation that a Russian Su-35 had been shot down over the Kursk Oblast on June 7th. The announcement, made via Telegram, was brief. This morning on June 7th, 2025, as a result of a successful Air Force operation in the Kursk direction, a Russian Su-35 jet was shot down. No further details were shared, at least not immediately.
Wow.
But the message came with a striking 15-second video posted to Telegram. A burning wreck, reportedly the Su-35, viewed through the lens of a Ukrainian recon drone. Upbeat music plays over the footage, but the subtext is deadly serious. You may hold Kursk, but you can't hold the sky. Then more details began to emerge. According to the Kyiv Post and Avias Online, this wasn't a drone strike on a parked aircraft, it was an aerial kill. One of Ukraine's F-16s had flown deep into Russian territory, locked onto an airborne Su-35 and brought it down in a head-to-head air engagement. And that's significant because the Su-35 is supposed to outclass everything Ukraine has, until now.
The F-16 still dominating the skies like it has been for quite some time now. It's a great bit of kit. It's a great bit of kit. I'm wondering if this Su-35 underestimated and kind of downplayed an F-16 and ultimately got absolutely caught out by it. I'd love to know the legit story of what happened, hearing it from the pilot or something like that.
The Kyiv Post kept its reports simple, stating that unconfirmed reports suggest that Ukraine used an F-16 provided by the Netherlands, which shot the Su-35 down using a US-made AIM-120 AMRAAM missile. It also shared early speculation that Ukraine may have just showcased its data link capabilities by deploying a Swedish-made Saab 340 Airborne Early Warning and Control, or AEW&C, platform in the attack. We'll dig into all of that soon. As for the Aviation Online report, it tells us that Ukraine's Air Force announcement didn't outright say that Ukraine used an F-16 to take out the Su-35. However, it was heavily implied via official channels and, according to Aviation Online, sources close to the Kyiv government are claiming that an F-16 was involved.
So they were dripping out information, basically, and they didn't want to get it all out too soon. That's the vague thing that I'm getting from this.
Beyond that, neither side seems to be talking. Russian media has confirmed that the Su-35 was destroyed while providing very little extra information, says Aviation Online. It does confirm that Russia is claiming that the Su-35's pilot managed to successfully eject from the plane and
Okay.
was later recovered alive by his comrades. Ukraine, on the other hand, is happy to play its cards close to its chest. Beyond also confirming that an Su-35 was taken out, Ukraine isn't telling us how. The only other details we have come from the Clash Report X account. It confirmed on June 8th that an Su-35 had been shot down and shared footage that appears to have been captured by a Russian evacuation team. Shot from a helicopter, the video shows the smoldering wreckage of the Russian fighter jet from another angle as the chopper crew searches for the ejected pilot. That's all we know, officially at least. But speculation is running rampant that the whole incident marks the first time that Ukraine has destroyed a Russian Su-35 in an air-to-air fight.
Wow.
Which brings us to how Ukraine...
The first time, considering how long this war's been going on for. Makes me wonder, how long have Ukrainians been using F-16s? Have they been using them the whole war? Let's do a little Google real quick. How long has Ukraine been using F-16s? Let's see what it's saying here. Should be going August 2024. So they got them in August 2024. Or they've been operating since August 2024. So it's relatively new. This is relatively new. About 10 months. Wow. Wow.
Managed to pull off. The answer appears to be via a combination of AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles and a special Swedish aerial platform that powers up Ukraine's F-16s so they can do more than anybody previously thought possible.
Okay.
Let's start with the missile. The AIM-120 AMRAAM is a medium-range air-to-air missile, according to the US Air Force website. It's capable of operating in all-weather conditions and provides a pilot with the ability to hit a target from beyond visual range. Beyond being compatible with the F-16, the missile is also usable in the F-15, F-22, F/A-18C and F, and the F-35. The US clearly trusts the missile enough to deploy it in all of its major aerial platforms.
Seems like quite a versatile bit of kit then, doesn't it? Which is always great.
Ukraine just showed us why. The missile measures 143.9 inches, has a 7-inch diameter, and a wingspan of 20.7 inches. It's not especially heavy, weighing just 335 pounds. However, what that low weight takes away in terms of pure firepower, it more than makes up for in speed and range. The US Air Force says that an AIM-120 can travel for more than 20 miles at supersonic speeds.
Holy shit.
It's guided to its target using a combination of active radar and an inertial navigation system that allows for mid-course correction. And when it strikes, it unleashes a blast fragmentation warhead that tears through its target. Oh, and it's relatively cheap. A single AIM-120 has a unit price of $386,000,
wow.
the US Air Force tells us. Compare that to the cost of building an Su-35, which Popular Mechanics says can cost Russia up to $85 million, and you get a huge return on investment. Ukraine just took out one of Russia's most valuable assets using a missile that costs 220 times less than the Su-35 to build. However, Ukraine didn't conduct this strike with an F-16 alone. Both Aviation Online and the Kyiv Post tell us that the F-16 was accompanied by a Swedish-made ASC-890 surveillance aircraft.
That's an interesting bit of kit. I've never seen one of them before with that thing on top. That is super interesting looking. That must be some sort of really advanced radar system by the sounds of it. What an interesting looking aircraft from Sweden.
Which is the AEW&C type we mentioned earlier. This appears to have been confirmed by the Tendar-X account, which says it is likely that Ukrainian F-16 fighters are already aided by type ASC-890 surveillance crafts. Sweden announced the transfer of 2 planes of that AEW&C type back in 2024. Its radar can track targets up to 400 kilometers, 250 miles away. It's the use of this aircraft that will terrify Putin the most. With the ASC-890, Ukraine powers up its F-16 so they can pull off feats that would otherwise be impossible. Well, it all comes down to how the ASC-890 works. When Sweden first transferred 2 of these surveillance craft to Ukraine...
I wonder if this is kind of a hint of what this NGAD system is going to be like for the US, where we're basically getting this new multi-aircraft, you could say communication system, but it's more like information system, isn't it? Where basically all these bits of kits, all these different vehicles, whether it's land, sea, air, drones, unmanned or manned, all these different bits of kit are able to talk to each other so quickly. Which only, like I've said many times on this channel, that it's information that helps you win a war, right? It makes me wonder if this is kind of like the first instance of us seeing something like this. right? Seeing another, or no, it's not the first instance, but it's kind of like a taste of what's to come, is what I'm trying to say. And it's showing what's capable. If the NGAD's probably vastly superior to something like this. So you can imagine how multiple times better we can see this type of warfare playing out, where another aircraft vastly aids a already advanced fighter jet. It's going to be so interesting to see where this goes.
RBC Ukraine ran a report detailing just what it brought to the war. It says that the ASC-890, which is also known as the S-100B Argus and the Saab 340 AEW&C, arrived as part of a $1.3 billion aid package that also included tanks, ammunition, RB-99 guided missiles, which are licensed versions of the AIM-120 AMRAAM, and a fleet of 239 PBV-302 armored personnel carriers. Sweden was going all out with its support back in 2024. However, it was the ASC-890 that grabbed the headlines, so much so that the Swedish Defense Minister Pål Jonson felt the need to highlight what the aircraft brought to Ukraine. ASC-890 will provide Ukraine with a new capability against both airborne and maritime targets, Jonson said, according to RBC
It's
Ukraine.
a generic
Ukraine's
thing to
capability to identify targets at long range will be strengthened. They will act as a force multiplier with the introduction of F-16.
Yeah, it's obvious that that's the case, and it's a bit of a generic statement. They're not going to tell us exactly what it's capable of, are they, really?
That's precisely how Ukraine appears to have used the ASC-890 on June 7th. The aircraft is equipped with a long-range radar on its roof, says RBC Ukraine, and it has a pair of turboprop engines that give it a maximum speed of around 329 miles per hour. That's fairly slow, at least in fighter jet terms. But speed isn't the point of the ASC-890. It's able to reach a flight ceiling of 25,000 feet and can stay airborne for around 7 hours, offering Ukraine the opportunity to deploy an aircraft that can stay in the air for a long time and hover out of view of Russia's fighter jets as it scans the battlefield. But it's the radar that's the standout feature. Using Active Electronically Scanned Array, or AESA technology, that radar can adjust its energy dynamically depending on its environment, RBC Ukraine reports. Ukraine gets versatility with this aircraft. They can use an ASC-890 to scan a wide area, perhaps on an initial search for targets, before honing in on a smaller priority zone that it wants to hit.
I swear, some of the technology that they're probably using out there right now is vastly further ahead than what we're aware of as the general public. I mean, can you imagine what some of the tech the UK and the US are using right now that we don't know about? Like, it's got to be so advanced that if we saw it, we'd think it would be aliens. Do you know what I mean? Like, some of the tech is just insane. And so we're seeing this stuff, but can you imagine the stuff we're not seeing?
The radar's range is phenomenal. RBC Ukraine says the ASC-890 has an effective surveillance range of around 193,000 square miles.
Wow.
Along with a vertical scanning range of just over 59,000 feet. So no matter where a Russian aircraft goes, the ASC-890 can find it. And all of that data the ASC-90 gathers can be transmitted in real time to fighter jets accompanying it.
Just like the NGAD. That's exactly what it is.
Like Ukraine's F-16. What we're seeing here is Ukraine potentially deploying a networked approach to its attacks on Russia's aircraft. It's not sending its F-16s into enemy territory blind, forcing them to scan for targets themselves before reacting. Ukraine knew where the Su-35 was. The ASC-890 provided that information while staying well out of the Su-35's effective range. Once the target was acquired, Ukraine used that information to deploy an F-16 capable of firing missiles from beyond visual range to take the Su-35 down. At least, that's the main theory. Ukraine hasn't provided any other details beyond saying that the Su-35 was destroyed, leading to speculation that other methods may have been used. Defense Express offers some other theories. In its own June 7th report, the outlet speculates that it's possible that Ukraine could have deployed Mirage fighter jets or some kind of mobile surface-to-air missile system to take out the Su-35. The Mirage is the least likely of the three options, Defense Express says. Though it's a capable aircraft that comes equipped with Mica long-range air-to-air missiles, that missile's limited range of between 37.3 and 49.7 miles makes the Mirage an unlikely...
Limited? That's still... so. The people don't realize how crazy that still is. Like, that's still an insane number for anything to be shot at, isn't it? You could shoot something that's like anywhere between 37 to 49 miles away. Like, I know they're low numbers for some of the stuff these days. It's still insane.
choice. Too much risk would have been involved. The Mirage would have needed to get up close and personal with Russia's Su-35.
Yeah,
at least
definitely.
in aerial combat terms to take it out. Far more likely, says Defense Express, is the use of a mobile Patriot system to take out the Su-35. But if that's the case, Ukraine would likely have needed to hit the Su-35 either while it was on the ground or by catching the pilot unawares. The Su-35 is capable of carrying out anti-aircraft maneuvers much better than Russia's other fighters, such as the Su-34, thanks to its higher G-load. Plus, Ukraine would have to be willing to expend at least one Patriot missile at a unit cost of around $4 million, while putting a Patriot battery at risk by moving it closer to the border with Kursk. Of the three options, the F-16 combined with the Swedish ASC-890 seems the most likely choice. But right now we can't know for sure. All the Ukrainian Air Force will tell us is that it downed an Su-35, and it's very happy about that fact. The Air Force even took to X to share a post sarcastically asking, "Who did this?" after the news broke. Ukraine, it seems, is keeping its cards very close to its chest.
I mean, rightly so. He's not going to go ahead and tell the world what they did. Otherwise, they won't be able to replicate it.
The only other details we have relate to the location where the strike took place. Ukraine took out the Su-35 over the Kursk settlement of Urasovo, reports the Su-35 YouTube channel. Located near Koronevo, the settlement would seem almost irrelevant to the Ukraine war, were it not for the fact that it's just a stone's throw away from a location where a lot of action is taking place, says Su-35. Koronevo appears to be one of the areas from which Russia is attempting to launch its offensive into Sumy after it retook the territory it lost to Ukraine in Kursk. Perhaps that gives us the reason why Ukraine just launched this daring raid. Taking out an Su-35 on June 7th means that the fighter can't be used to hurt Ukraine as it attempts to defend against the Russian advance in Sumy. And that brings us to what this latest Ukrainian strike means for the war. The headline is simple. Russia just lost another of its most valuable fighter jets as Ukraine has exposed weaknesses in yet another major piece of Russian military hardware. Aviation Online tells us that this is the 8th Su-35 to be taken out during the war. Russia isn't hurting too badly from that problem, as the Kyiv Independent says that it has about 100 in its stockpiles.
Yeah, but still, 8 out of 100 is still, it's a chunk. It's not like crazy, is it? But it's still a chunk.
If Putin wanted, he could replace the lost Su-35 with another, but that would still mean redeploying a fighter that he might have planned to use for something else.
Yeah.
Still, Russia has now lost almost a tenth of its entire Su-35 stock.
Wow.
And given the $85 million price tag we mentioned earlier, what Ukraine just pulled off with its F-16 in Kursk means it has officially cost Putin around $680 million in Su-35 losses alone over the last 3+ years. Those are losses that Putin never wanted to incur, not least because they reveal that Russia's most advanced aerial platform may not be all it's claimed to be. Questions are now being raised about how effective an Su-35 can be in modern warfare. In truth, those questions are nothing new. Back in April 2024, the National Interest published an article where it claimed that Russia had an Su-35 nightmare that was only just getting started. It pointed out that Russia has struggled to maintain any form of dominance in Ukraine's airspace since Putin's illegal invasion began, with one of the main reasons being that the Su-35 isn't everything that Russia believed it to be.
Oh yeah, surprise, surprise, a Russian aircraft is not as good as everyone thinks it is. Surprise, surprise. What? What's new?
It should be an effective aircraft, says the National Interest. The installation of canards and reshaping of the Su-35's wing leading edge extension should allow the fighter to deal with high angles of attack better than its predecessor, the Su-27. The Su-35 also has a new flight surface enabling the aircraft to endure up to 10 Gs, along with a phased array radar that allows the aircraft to engage targets from beyond the horizon. The aircraft's top speed of Mach 2.25 should also be enough, when combined with its enhanced maneuverability, to dodge an AIM-120 AMRAAM, assuming the pilot knows that AIM-120 is coming. But the massive problem that Russia has with its Su-35s, the National Interest says, is that Ukraine had found ways to take it down even before it launched its daring Kursk raid. Multiple have been taken out before June 7th, with at least one of the Su-35s appearing to have simply malfunctioned and crashed without any Ukrainian involvement back in...
What? Back in March 2024, an Su-35 just glitched and crashed. Why have I not heard about that? That's mental. It just glitched and they just ditched it. Nearly $100 million worth of kit just glitched and broke. Wow.
In March 2024, says The Guardian. The point here is that the Su-35 doesn't seem to be as reliable an aircraft as Russia needs it to be, either as an attacking force or in the literal sense of being reliable enough to stay in the air. Perhaps that's why Russia has limited its deployment of Su-35s to behind the front lines for much of the conflict. Putin knows he'll lose more if he tries to take on Ukraine directly with the Su-35s. What just happened in Kursk proves that he's right. The Su-35 has been exposed as an aircraft that isn't capable of matching up to an F-16 that's supported by other advanced surveillance aircraft. Another problem this Ukrainian strike reveals is that Kursk isn't the controlled territory Russia claims it to be. On April 26th, the BBC reported that Russia was claiming to have completely eradicated Ukrainian forces in the oblast following an extensive campaign that began when Ukraine counter-invaded Russia in August 2024. The outlet claimed that a leading Russian commander named Valery Gerasimov had confirmed the recapture of the last Kursk village that was still under Ukraine's control, supposedly bringing about an end to an 8-month saga that left Putin humiliated.
He must feel so humiliated at this point. The fact that this is still going, it's 2025, halfway through 2025, and it's still going on. When did this start? 2022? Over 3 years ago, and they said that they'd be able to take the whole of Ukraine in like 4 or 5 days. Didn't they say something like that? And it's, what, three and a half years on? And they're still struggling? Like, that's gotta feel like a kick in the nuts to Putin, surely. Like, that's gotta feel so embarrassing.
Gerasimov lauded the heroism of the North Korean soldiers Russia used to retake Kursk, who were part of a 70,000-strong Russian counteroffensive designed to expel Ukraine. Gerasimov also claimed that Russia had killed or wounded more than 76,000 Ukrainian soldiers during the Kursk counteroffensive, though that claim hasn't been independently verified. It seems Russia has pushed Ukraine out of Kursk, but on June 7th, Ukraine proved that Russia doesn't have as much control over the oblast as it thought it had. Even as Russia is gearing up to use Kursk as a launching pad for more offensives into Sumy, Ukraine is using F-16s to demonstrate that it's still very serious about fighting for the border region. And therein lies another problem for Putin to confront. Ukraine is getting a lot braver with how it uses its F-16s. When Ukraine received its first batch of F-16s back in August 2024, many speculated that Ukraine would use them for aerial defense. The Atlantic Council was among them, writing in August that a combat role was unlikely at that stage, and that Ukrainian F-16s will primarily be used to strengthen the country's air defense. That opinion seemed to be confirmed on August 27th, when Defense News reported that Ukrainian F-16s were used to intercept incoming Russian missiles during a massive missile and drone attack that targeted several Ukrainian regions, including Kyiv. Putin would have been...
Is this the first time we've seen F-16s fighting in air-to-air combat? Is this the first time we're seeing this? Let me just Google it. Is this the first time we are seeing F-16s fighting air-to-air? Is it? Let's have a quick Google here. No, it's not. Okay. The Israeli Air Force scored a first ever air-to-air kill with the F-16 in April 1981. A Syrian helicopter. The U.S. Air Force also recorded its own F-16 air-to-air victories in Operation Southern Watch on December 1992 and MiG-25. Okay. So the first one was 1981. Then there was a couple in 1992, 1993. And then the first air-to-air for Ukraine was in October 2024. Was an Su-35. So it's not a substantial amount, but this, I mean, this is well, it's not really the first time either because of the U.S. Air Force one. So it's going to be interesting to see how, from here on forward, what the F-16 is capable of. Because it looks like it's been used in conflicts, but it's just like here and there. But this has been 10 months now, and we've seen it take down an Su-34 and an Su-35. So it's going to be very interesting to see over the next year or two. Firstly, if he gets any more confirmed air-to-airs. But also, secondly, if they get downed by anything. If any F-16s get downed.
Fine with that limited usage. If F-16s stayed on Ukraine's territory, he could continue his missile and drone strikes from behind the front lines. The F-16s would take some out, sure, but they are limited by only being able to carry a handful of missiles. Plus, Russia might get lucky and take out some of the F-16s through sheer numbers of missiles and drones alone.
That's what I'm interested to see.
Kursk tells us that Ukraine is getting braver with its F-16s. We received hints of this growing bravery in March when Euromaidan Press reported that Ukraine was switching from pure defense with its F-16s to a combination of defense and offense. It confirmed that Ukraine had received additional F-16s, allowing Ukraine to take more risks, and that then recent photographs of F-16s going out on sorties showed that they were being loaded with AIM-120s, external fuel tanks, and air-to-air Sidewinder missiles. All hints that Ukraine was starting to use its F-16s to attack Putin's forces on Russian territory. More jets means better protection from missile strikes, more successful air raids on Russian positions, and improved capabilities in aerial combat, Euromaidan wrote, while also noting that more jets coming from Ukraine's Western allies would only make the country a stronger aerial force.
If they
Putin
get
just got a taste of that new strength. One of his prized...
I don't know whether they're going to get any more Western aircraft, especially not from America, because I'm pretty sure they just announced that they're not going to be supporting it anymore.
Su-35s is nothing more than a smoking wreckage somewhere in Kursk. Ukraine has just changed the game because it's found a way to turn its F-16s into attacking forces capable of taking out Russia's supposedly more advanced aircraft. And this is far from the first time that Ukraine has turned what is supposed to be an outdated piece of military hardware into an offensive force capable of doing massive damage to Russia. It's also managed to transform ancient Soviet-era S-200 missile launchers into monsters that are hitting Russia hard. Find out how in our video, covering just what Ukraine is doing with its S-200s. And remember to subscribe to The Military Show for more videos covering the latest developments in the Ukraine war. Ukraine just said...
Great video. Another really, really good video by The Military Show. I have some, thoughts. Firstly, are we going to see more takedowns for air-to-air with the F-16? And secondly, are any F-16s going to get shot down? Because that'll be super interesting data for the rest of the Western world, especially America. They'll be looking at that very, very closely to see how their aircraft does. Because if it keeps it's been successful so far, right? But we're only 10 months into these F-16s being deployed in Ukraine. So, yes, it's cool that it shot down an Su-35, potentially. But at the same time, where are we going to go from here, and how effective is it going to be over the next 1, 2, 3 years for the rest of this war? Very interesting to see. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will leave a link down below to the original video. Check out Chug, 10% off, link down below, and check out Morale Boost, my new podcast for my new business. Other than that, that's it. I'll probably see you Monday. I'm going to take the rest of the week off, I think. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And my mind's elsewhere. And I feel like I'm getting sick. So I'm just going to take the rest of the week off and relax. Maybe you'll see me at some point this week. Maybe not. Other than that, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.